Welcome everybody. Did you check about the new Atelier game? Yes, I did. Atelier Yumia? Is it Yumia? Yumai? Yumi? I think it's Yumia, right? Well, whatever it is pronounced, I did check on that game. I watched the Nintendo Direct like everybody else, and well, I saw that they said it was an Atelier game, but at the beginning I thought it was kind of some kind of spin-off. But no, it's apparently the start of a new trilogy or a new. I don't know if it's gonna be like a new trilogy with the same protagonist or like the old Atelier games, like 3 different protagonists for each game. Because apparently with Risa and now Sophie, they kind of want to make whole trilogies based on just one character in the same universe or town or characters. So that's interesting, but whatever the case, I don't know what the hell they're gonna do with this new IP. But what the highlight for me was that the game looked kind of edgy, like she looked kind of in distress, like I don't know, something off was happening, something dark was in there, and that caught my attention. I was like, man, this does not look like your average colorful slice of life Atelier game, like every single other. In the all of them, even the Iris games, Iris 2, the Assault of Destiny on the PlayStation 2, that seems to be the darkest of them all, but even being the darkest is not really dark, like barely, And now Yumia seems like it's gonna be, I don't know, man. I'm really intrigued by this new Atelier game, I'm a fan of the series. Sure, I'm not like that die-hard fan of the series, but I'm a fan. And this looks intriguing, this looks different. The protagonist, the atmosphere, of the game. The trailer showed something kind of like stressful and dark. Something was going on in there. It definitely did not look like an Atelier game, even though it is, so... Well, we'll see what happens, Like, I'm interested, very intrigued by this. Do you think Suikoden 1 and 2, they are remasters, they're not remakes, okay? They are remasters. So do you think the Suikoden 1 and 2 remasters will be released on 6 March 2025? And will it open Suikoden 6 and... Okay, so you're trying to ask if after these games are released, there's a possibility that Suikoden 6 will come into existence. I don't know, the developers of Suikoden 5 and Tear Cries, showed some interest. They openly said that they have been interested in developing Suikoden 6 for over a decade. But it's just fucking Konami, right? Konami owns the IP, so they can't do anything. And then there's a Eiyuden Chronicle, and it was successful, but it got a lot of shit because of the translation. So, as long as Konami respects the Suikoden 1 and 2 translations and they don't fuck them up, there's a possibility they may succeed and sell a lot and merit the possibility of Suikoden 6 one day by Konami. But I don't trust Konami. That's a company I stopped trusting over 20 years ago. Well, 20 years ago to be exact. Around 2005 or 6, that's when I said, these guys, they don't really care about video games anymore. And now they have tried making a comeback with all these remasters and remakes and Castlevania collections and now Suikoden and Silent Hill 2, But some of their games, are political, sweet babies involved in the Silent 2 remake, Silent Hill 2 remake, so I don't trust Konami. I don't trust Konami and the translation. I don't know what's gonna happen with the remasters. And I guess what I'm trying to say is that I just don't care about Suikoden 6 or Eiyuden Chronicle. To me, if no one can handle the Suikoden series without inserting fucking politics into it, I'd rather have the series stay dead forever. Do you think the lack of balance and difficulty in JRPGs is a common issue or only in some games? Nowadays, it seems to be a common issue. There have been difficulty spikes in JRPGs in the past, but the majority are quite balanced. Nowadays, it seems to be a common issue. There's a lot of them that are like ridiculous. But that's also the reason why there's a lot of almost every single JRPG in existence nowadays has an easy mode. Because they know they can't afford maybe quality assurance, and they rather invest that money on the programmers to set up an easy mode, maybe, instead of making sure their game is balanced, which is a very cheap way and lazy way to release your game and to develop your game. I'd rather have a balanced video game than one with an easy mode, you know? So yeah, I think it's a common issue nowadays. It's always been there, of course, but it feels like modern JRPGs for the past like 5, 6, 7 years, you know, have been like that. There's a lot of them that are with nasty spikes, and it certainly is a problem. I don't recommend Resonance of Fate. Speaking about difficulty spikes. Nemo propaganda! Thanks a bunch, man. Did somebody say donation? I don't know. It was probably that little fucking dragon, you know, that I showed in my collection video game collection tour video. The dragon, the OK dragon. It's probably that guy, but not me, man. Of course, Sky First is getting remade as I'm 40 hours in. It happened to me, man. I don't know how many of you remember this, but I made a full playthrough live of Chrono Cross on a New Game Plus. And when I finished that, I think I finished this in like January of 2022. And like a month later, the remaster got released. Announced and released. And I was like, oh. So I feel you, bro. I know what that feels like. I don't know if the remake is gonna have less text. You know what I think is gonna happen with the Sky remake is that most of the text will not be text anymore. Like, will be fully voiced dialogue in like cutscenes or something like that. I don't know how they're gonna handle that. Or maybe it will still be a lot of text, but it will have like voice acting, you know, like English or Japanese dub. So it's gonna feel less heavy to read. That's what I think. Like, I don't know, man, try to close your eyes and think of Trails into Reverie and imagine it's a PSP game and like 80% of the dialogue isn't voiced and you just gotta read over and over and over and over and over again, right? So Trails in the Sky remake is not gonna be like that, I think. It's probably gonna have a lot of text too, but it's gonna be fully voiced, maybe. So that'll break down the repetitive nature of reading or the tedious nature of it. So apparently the Visions of Mana studio, the studio who developed the game, was fired from Square Enix. I'm not surprised. People think it's because they kind of stood against the political bullshit, but I want to look it up. But Google's probably gonna lie to me, so I'm gonna look it up on Bing. You know, Google, they manipulate search results. Oka Studios, responsible for developing Visions of Mana, is reportedly closing following the new decisions from Chinese publisher NetEase to step back from Japanese studios after years of investments. What? Wasn't this game published by Square Enix? What the fuck, man? Neither the studio nor its owner have released a public statement about this. So no one knows. It's open to speculation, Yum Yum. I don't know what's going on here. I know why they were shut down. But it's just kind of hard not to think of the fact that several months before, the director of the game said that he wasn't going to alter his game for modern Western audiences, you know, and we all know what that means. He wasn't going to insert political bullshit or DEI in his game. And then the game gets released, and the same week, the studio gets shut down. So I don't know what happened with the Visions of Mana studio. It's sad news. We can only speculate as to why. Let's not jump to conclusions. But it's kind of hard not to, you know. Hopefully the developers will find or fund a new studio, or they will continue solo, like acquire, you know. And maybe they can find a different publisher. You know, it's not too bad. Getting dropped sucks, you know, but like I said, maybe the developers can go and do something else and develop the games they believe in and develop the games the way they want them to be, you know, without evil fucking mafias, communist mafias pulling the strings, you know? So, best of luck to the team. It's sad news, but it's better to... I think it's for the good, for the best, you know? If they get dropped by a company that's woke, I wouldn't mind. I will go solo, you know, and find something else. It's gonna be hard, I know that, you know, but it's either that or stay under the strings of something evil. Yeah, you know what I mean. So, best of luck to the team of Visions of Mana. This is, it's a bit frustrating if it's because of that, because they took a stance against, you know, political bullshit. It's infuriating, but there's a lot of financial issues with a lot of studios nowadays, so maybe that has a lot to do with something. Maybe Visions of Mana didn't sell that many copies. Maybe the publisher said to Visions of Mana, you know, if your game doesn't sell this much, I'm gonna have to shut down the studio in its first week, right? And that happened, and goodbye. You know, maybe it's got nothing to do with politics. But if it does, then fuck you for dropping this beautiful studio. Go to hell, and I hope you go bankrupt and rot in fucking prison one day. I won't sponsor anything here. I want to sponsor my books. Link to my books in the description, everybody. I want to sponsor my Twitch channel, my blog, my own stuff, you know? I want to promote my own stuff. I don't want to try and sell you some product, you know, or some game I don't believe in. Like, I had an issue. I'm not going to talk about this because it was private, you know, out of respect for the company. But I had an issue with another company that wanted to, like, hey, here's my new game, and we're gonna pay you this amount of money if you review it. And I was like, oh, okay, sure. The game is an RPG, looks indie, looks retro. Yeah, I dig that, you know. But I was like, rule number 1. I got a couple of conditions. Nah, I didn't say that. I just said that, you know, so how does this work? When are you gonna pay me? Oh, we're gonna pay you 45 days after you've uploaded the review. Oh, and before you upload the review, we gotta watch it and give it a green light. Okay. You know what I said? And after saying that, nicely, they still insisted, oh, could you explain why, you know? Maybe you could do a 30 days. We can pay you 30 days after you've uploaded the review. And I was like, You know what, dude? With all due respect, first and foremost, your game isn't mainstream. So my review is not gonna get... Your game is an indie game. It's not gonna get a lot of views right now. And to be completely honest, you know, I just don't feel comfortable being paid after doing all the work. What if I send the video to you guys and you don't accept it? And I already did all the writing and scripting and playing the game, and you say, no, you gotta change this and that because it's offensive. I don't know. Oh. And I told him, if your game includes political bias or agendas, I said this, you know, I will criticize that. I will point that out and criticize that, you know? So I don't feel like writing a review for a game that may have political bullshit and that I'm gonna get paid for in a month and a half. What if the video fails, you know, or gets shadow banned because it's political and I'm attacking it and YouTube doesn't like me when I do that? And they say, oh, you know what, Eric? This is not gonna work. Of course it's not gonna work, asshole! This is not the first time someone's offered me money before. Nintendo did with Paper Mario, the remaster. And the same. You know, like, oh, we're gonna pay you this, but it's gonna be like 2 months later. Oh, but you live in Mexico. We can't pay you. Even if they paid me, my review will still be the same. If there's something to rant about, I will rant about. If it's got politics, I will criticize the politics. That's what happened with the Eiyuden Chronicle. and I told him that. I was like, you're gonna send me your game? Fine. If it's got any political bullshit, I will point that out. But they didn't pay me. They just sent the fucking game.